Hello there. Thank you very much for those who have already joined us. We'll just give it a minute or so for others to join us, and once we're ready, we will explain our proposals and take it from there. So we'll just wait a few seconds before we start the formal presentation. Those who have just joined us, thanks very much for attending tonight. We will just start shortly, just waiting for a few people to join, and then we will start the formal presentation shortly. Okay, my name is David Shetcliffe, and I work for a company called Curtin & Co. We are working on this proposal, looking to engage the local community and important stakeholders. So thanks very much for joining our online virtual exhibition. Before we start, I'm just going to explain how the software works. So if you can click on the button at the bottom, this will make your screen as large as possible. So you'll be able to see the screen and the details as big as you can. So if you can do that first. Thank you very much. And this is probably one of the most important bits. So we want to hear your feedback. We want to get your questions. And in order to provide us with questions, you click on the question mark button, and you can write your questions as we are going along the presentation. We will then collate all the questions up at the end and then respond to you individually. But please give us as much feedback as you can, as we will be looking for feedback and any questions that you have. So please do that throughout the session. And lastly, you'll be able to download this this presentation, so don't worry about writing lots of notes. This will also be available on our project website, but all the key materials you'll be able to download and find on our website. So I'm going to now introduce the wider team who are involved in this project. So as I said, my name is David Shetcliffe, and I'm working with Joseph, who I know a number of you have already spoken to already. Then there is Richard from Lansdowne. He is the applicant. He is the promoter of the site, and we'll be explaining the proposal shortly. Then we have Nick from Fonthill Care. He has experience operating high quality care homes, so is helping Lansdowne on this project. And then we have Adam from HGH Consulting, who is a planning consultant who is responsible for making this planning application go through and be full details throughout the whole process. So I'm going to hand you over to Richard. As I said, before we properly start, please write as many questions as you can, and hopefully this will be a helpful event. So over to you, Richard.
Thanks, David. So my name's Richard Hardy and my company is called Lansdowne, and we specialise in delivering high quality, purpose-built facilities for some of the best healthcare operators in the country. I actually grew up in Chingford, going to school at Chase Lane and then Nevin Drive, so I know the area very well, and this makes me extra keen to deliver something special here. I'm going to start by giving a brief overview of the existing site and a message from the owner, and then we will go on to discuss our proposal in more detail. So if we go on to the next slide. The site is known as Chapelfield and is located on Sewardstone Road and forms part of the Sewardstone settlement between Chingford and Waltham Abbey. The site is in use as a garden centre / nursery, selling plants and a range of garden items to the general public. It's well known locally, and many residents probably drive past it every day or pop in to buy their plants or other gardening items. The owners live in the property at the front of the site and have done so for over 60 years. Their children have since moved outside the area. The site is just over 5 acres in size, so a pretty big area, and as you can see from these images, it is covered by a range of buildings, storage and hard standing. We move on to the next slide. So this includes a quote from the owner, Gordon Harker. Gordon is well known amongst the local community and has made many friends during his long time doing business here. I will read out the quote to you. My name is Gordon Harker. I'm 83 and my family have lived in Sewardstone for over 60 years and have been operating a glass house and flower business since 1964. Over the years, the business has shifted dramatically away from the wholesale market due to competition from cheap Dutch and Italian imports. And in recent years, we have almost exclusively sold to the public. I'm looking to retire as it is not feasible for the business to continue as it is. As a large developed site in the Greenbelt, I'd like to see it put to a positive use in the future, something for the community, and I like the idea of it being reused as a care home for the elderly, as well as returning a large portion of the site to nature, which this proposal does. What's been clear ever since I met Gordon is that he really cares about what happens to the site once he leaves. This is why he has chosen our proposal for a care home, which, as we'll come on to, is something which is very much needed by the local community. And our proposal also restores a lot of the currently developed land back to nature. The fact that our proposal actually reduces the building footprint on site by 68% was really important to him. On the next slide, we can see that Chapelfield is located within the Greenbelt. However, as the site is classified as previously developed land, planning policy is clear that redevelopment is appropriate so long as no greater harm to the Greenbelt can be shown compared to the existing use. As set out on this slide, our proposal clearly meets this test. In fact, we have gone above and beyond it in order to deliver a scheme which not only preserves but actually enhances the openness of the Greenbelt to the benefit of the landscape and local nature. There are 8 key improvements to the Greenbelt which will be delivered through this proposal. The first is the substantial reduction in the footprint of buildings on the site. 68% is a very significant reduction in built development. Secondly, and related to this, is a 26% reduction in building volume compared to existing buildings. This is again a significant reduction. Thirdly, there will be a 43% reduction in hard standing on the site. Hard standing is concrete foundations, roadways, car parking areas, etc. Our proposal reduces this considerably to the benefit of the environment. There will also be the removal of open storage on site. This includes, for example, the wide range of items for sale, such as bags of compost and garden ornaments, as well as vehicles, containers, pallets, etc. Related to all of the previously discussed factors will be a substantial reduction in the sprawl of development across the site. The development area will be contained in a much smaller part of the site, which will open up the rest to the benefit of the landscape and visual amenity. The reduction in sprawl which the proposal will provide is an important positive Greenbelt consideration. The proposal will also deliver a high quality building design reflective of the best elements of the local architecture. We will come on to this factor later in the presentation. The proposal will deliver substantial landscape and visual improvements. The openness of the Greenbelt will be restored across the site with attractive landscaped gardens and a wildflower meadow on the rear part of the site. Finally, this wildflower meadow, as well as the more formal gardens, will all result in a significant net gain in biodiversity. Therefore, we strongly believe that our proposal respects its Greenbelt setting and offers the huge benefit of enhancing the openness of Greenbelt as well as the local landscape, visual amenity, and local nature. I'm now going to hand over to Adam, who is going to set out why a new purpose-built care home is needed here.
Thank you, Richard. My name's Adam Gostling. I'm a planner from HGH Consulting. I'm a resident of the district, and I've lived in Epping for over 13 years. So I've got a local interest and a positive outcome for this site. I'm just going to run you through the need for a new purpose-built care home in the area. And run through some key facts for everybody. One of the most pertinent is that there's been no new care homes built in Waltham Abbey parish for over 10 years, and 1 in 3 of the care homes within Waltham Abbey are rated as requiring improvement by the Care Quality Commission. In High Beach alone, 45% of residents are already over the age of 55, and in that same 10-year period, the number of people over 65 in the local area has increased by 18%. Looking further forward, the over 65 population in Epping Forest district is projected to increase from 26,278 today to nearly 31,000 in 10 years' time, which is a 17.5% increase. And the fact is that demand is not being met for the growing aging population. The problem is only going to increase. No new care homes have been built in Waltham Abbey parish for over 10 years, and over the last 5 years, only 44% of the care home beds that are needed have been delivered that Epping Forest have identified as being required. Epping Forest district have not granted consent for a care home anywhere in the district for over 3 years, and one particularly pertinent statistic which isn't up here is that there's 281 beds in Waltham Abbey parish, but 72% of them are over 30 years old, so there has been no new care homes delivered. Half the existing care homes in the area are conversions of existing houses, which unfortunately provide inferior accommodation, which doesn't really satisfy the requirements of residents or their families. In converted homes, unfortunately, coronavirus is more likely to spread, and it's far more difficult to isolate residents who have the virus. The conversions that exist tend to have lower space standards. They've got cramped accommodation, narrow corridors, and particularly air handling systems are not really modelled or suitable to remove airborne pathogens such as COVID-19. Fonthill, who are a part of this application, have a care home in St Albans that has a state-of-the-art change of air facility in the building, and it removes air 10 times per hour. And the head nurse involved at Fonthill believes it's a really significant reason why Fonthill, fortunately, has not had any COVID-19 cases. I'm going to pass you over now to my colleague Nick.
Thank you very much, Adam. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nick Alhughes, and I'm the director of Fonthill Care. We operate a 64-bed purpose-built nursing home in St Albans. I think we're unique in that we employ a resident GP who oversees 15 full-time nurses. This team provides palliative care and looks after those with very severe dementia. Fonthill has been rated outstanding by the Care Quality Commission ever since it opened in 2013. I think less than 5% of care homes in the country have this rating. I think part of the reason that we have an outstanding rating, well, primarily it's because of the team, fantastic team we have, but it's greatly helped by having a state-of-the-art building where modern nursing is actually appropriate. As Adam says, it has a air handling system which brings fresh air into the building and changes the entire air 10 times per hour. And I think in the current circumstance, the reason COVID-19 hasn't come to Fonthill is largely due to that. Also, the fact we have a resident GP I think means that we don't have doctors' visits, which obviously has contributed to the spread of the virus. And we'd very much like to have the opportunity to bring both our state-of-the-art building and our care operation to Waltham Abbey. Thank you very much. Just handing over to Richard.
Thanks, Nick. I'm now going to go through some plans and visuals of the proposal. The first image, which you can see here, shows very well how significant the reduction of sprawl of development on the site will be to the benefits of the green belt. This also shows how the architecture breaks up the building through different forms and materials. Local inspiration was taken from dark boarded barns with steep pitched gables and pantile roofs. If we move on to the next slide, this shows a plan view and we can see just how green the site will be. Again, this has been achieved through those key statistics which you see there. A 68% reduction in total building footprint, a 26% reduction in total building volume, and a 43% reduction in hard standing. This plan shows very well the transition from the formal gardens on the west part of the site around the care home and the transition on the eastern part of the site to the more natural wildflower meadow. The existing mature vegetation to the property boundaries is also retained and enhanced. If we move on to the next slide, this shows the landscape enhancements in a bit more detail. This includes an avenue of trees at the entrance to provide an attractive entrance and setting to the building. It shows that the hard landscaping to the front of the site is broken up with tree planting. It shows that to the south of the care home, there is actually a sensory garden, which will provide a feature and alternative outside space for the residents. This can be of great benefit to all residents, including those with dementia. As previously discussed, to the east of the site, there will be a transition from between the formal landscape in close proximity to the building to the informal, more natural landscape. This will include an informal path winding through the areas of wildflower meadow, scattered with clumps of native tree planting. This area will be of great benefit to a wide range of flora and fauna. The next slide summarises some of these landscape and biodiversity enhancements. So this includes a net gain of over 9,000 square metres of attractive open green space, attractive formal garden areas in close proximity to the building to provide ample recreation areas for residents, a sensory garden providing an interesting outside space for residents, including those with dementia. To the east, a transition to a more informal natural landscape with a wildflower meadow with clusters of native tree cover. And finally, the proposal will result in a substantial net gain in biodiversity. If we move on to the next slide, I think I'll conclude by saying that we are really proud of our proposal presented here. And I hope that you can see that we have put a lot of time and effort into it, as well as working closely to achieve a legacy that the owner would like to leave on the site. One which provides not only a huge social benefit, as Adam has discussed, but one which actually enhances the landscape and nature. I will conclude by stating that, as shown here, our proposal will reduce the built-up area of the site by 2/3, transform the site into a modern care home facility, and provide a high-quality care home which is much needed and delivers outstanding levels of care for residents, including those with dementia. I will now hand back to Joe, who is going to discuss the community engagement already undertaken and outline the next steps.
Thanks very much, Richard. As Richard says, this is very much a process of engagement, and today is one opportunity to hear from you and to understand your questions and your concerns. In fact, this time last year in September, we conducted a survey of local residents, that's me there locally, to find out your views and to get a sense of the need for more care provision in the local area. We spoke to just over 100 residents on that day, and we actually found that 79% of people in the local area know of someone that's needed care. 61% of people living locally believe that Waltham Abbey is a suitable place for more later living accommodation. And crucially, 82% of people living locally support a new care home which focuses on supporting people with dementia. So that's what the community has already told us. But as I said, today is an opportunity for us to find out what you think as well. So for those who haven't been able to make this evening's presentation, a recording of the presentation will be uploaded onto our website, www.chapelfieldcarehome.co.uk. We will also be uploading the information that was on display as well. A survey, we will invite you to complete a survey so that you can give us your feedback at the end of this exhibition. So please fill in the survey when I end the session. For those who weren't able to make the presentation, that same survey will be uploaded onto the project website as well, so that people can fill it out in their own time, having seen a recording of this evening's exhibition. We will then spend the next few weeks looking at that feedback, trying to understand what your questions are, what your concerns are. As David said at the start of this presentation, we will be responding to the questions that you've asked this evening in due course, and I can see that we've had quite a number of questions come through. We will then look to submit a detailed planning application in mid-November, prior to a decision that we expect to be given by Epping Forest District Council early next year. So thank you very much for coming this evening. We will be putting a recording onto the website, but please do take the time to fill in a survey at the end of this presentation. So thank you very much and have a very good evening. Take care.